Welcome to Barbell Logic Rewind.
Welcome to Barbell Logic. I'm Scott Hambrick, and I've got Matt Reynolds with me. And today
What's up, everybody?
we have our guest, John Wilson, with us today.
You know the nickname I have for John Wilson? Johnny Red Light.
Johnny Red Light.
Johnny Red Light, because John Wilson has never given me a white light in a squat attempt in my entire life. Now, I will say
you didn't deserve one.
it's because I definitely never deserved a white. I don't know that I've ever actually squatted below parallel at a meet. I get dangerously close.
Yes, we're well aware of this.
And so, hey, man, thanks for being on the show.
So what do you have to do to get a white light, though? So for the people that don't know, John, tell them what you got to do to get a white light.
Squat below parallel.
Get that hip crease below that kneecap.
3 to 4 inches below parallel for
So Matt Reynolds it pretty much has to have his butt touching his calves.
Right. Right.
Which my hips don't work that way anymore.
Okay, well,
So glad you're here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Right. I got diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic kidney cancer in September of 2015. And at that time, the doctor gave me 3 to 6 months to live. And since this is late October 2017, obviously there's something wrong there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start even before you got diagnosed with cancer.
I was doing the spa thing, training actually at another place here in town, and thought I was doing something. Basically came over here and found out what real strength training was. And when I first started doing this, my body weight went from about 2.25 to 303 in about a year.
Wow.
A good 303.
A good 303.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was what, about 85, 86? Somewhere there?
86,
Yeah,
yep.
86. And then you stayed, I was going to say, so what do you weigh? How tall are you and what do you weigh now?
I'm about 6'1" and a half, and I weigh about 268 now.
So you've had stage 4 kidney cancer for 3 years?
No, for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
And you've maintained a body weight over 260 pounds throughout. And one of the things we see, I guess, with cancer patients that often is the thing that kills them is the wasting away.
Yeah. Yes.
And you haven't. Man, I have watched you train over the last several years coming in here. I know you've told me stories where you've trained through chemo, right?
I'm on chemo as we speak. I take chemo every single day.
And how long have you been on chemo?
I've been on chemo for 2 years.
Since the beginning. Yeah.
2 years straight.
What's it like training? I mean, you've trained healthy. You know what training healthy feels like. What is it like to train sick and on chemo and cancer drugs?
Basically, you have a constant feeling of being sick to your stomach. The recovery time being on chemo is, well, there is no recovery. I mean, it ravages your whole body. It's poison. So it doesn't distinguish between good cells and bad cells. It literally destroys anything in its path because it's trying to kill cancer. So anytime I train, I'm really almost never completely recovered. But my choice is either continue to train or die because I'm going to start losing weight and muscle mass.
Yeah, sure. What was it like the first week after you found out? Was it a surprise? I assume you went in, there was something going on, and you went in and got checked out, or what was the story?
Excuse me, I was in a complete and total state of shock. With all humility, before about 4 days before I got, 4 or 5 days before I got diagnosed, I pulled 490 for 5 on deadlift with no belt.
At what age was that? How old were you then?
56.
Okay, 56 years old. That's
490 for 5.
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
And then I'm at that time, I still was having some problems breathing. And I went ahead and trained anyway. And then within a week, my lung collapsed completely flat. And I thought I had bronchitis or something. And instead, I went to the ER, and they said, you need to go straight to a bigger hospital that can deal with you. And they said early looks like diagnosed, looks like cancer, looks like you got some spots. And then within a week, they told me that I had stage 4 cancer.
And so then what was that next week like? How does that play out in your brain? You know, who are you close to? What does that look like even on a practical level?
Again, in a complete and total state of shock. I never expected anything like that, nor did I guess you hear about other people getting cancer, but it's one of those things, it'll never happen to me. And I'll be honest with you, right when I first got diagnosed, I had a complete and total breakdown.
Sure.
I had a breakdown. Again, I just couldn't believe that I had cancer, and then after the urologist came in and said, well, you've got a very aggressive form of cancer. It usually gets people very soon, and you have 3 to 6 months to live. Get your affairs in order. So I was an emotional wreck.
Sure.
So
after you got that diagnosis, how long did it take you to come back and train again?
it took me about 13 weeks because I had a major chest surgery while I was in the hospital. They scraped my entire chest cavity, and they had to detach my lung from my chest wall, and then they got cancer out of both my lungs and then cauterized it, and then they also did one more procedure where they shot chemicals in my left lung so my lung wouldn't fill back up with fluid. So it took me, like I said, about 13 weeks to come back and start training again.
In that 13 weeks, you got a major surgery before you start training. Something had to have changed in your brain, in your mind. So what's that first session look like when you come back after being diagnosed with cancer, 13 weeks without training? Now, you were training obviously really hard going into it. Do you remember that first session?
Ugly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ugly, because I couldn't put very much pressure on my chest or stomach because that's where my surgery was, and I still had it was very tender and very sore. I think I might have squatted 95.
Sure. Probably
And
couldn't even perform a Valsalva.
That sounds like a lot to me.
It does. I mean, that sounds fine.
I might have been able to squat 95, and I might have pressed 65, and I'm not even sure if I deadlifted at all, but if I did, it might have been 135. But it was something tiny.
So they cut your ribs, right? I mean, they cut
Yes.
or cut your sternum.
Yeah, they had. Well, they went in through the side, and then what they did was for about 4 or 5 days I had an open wound with 2 tubes sticking in my side.
Yeah, the drain.
A drain tube and a drain tube, and then also a wound vac.
So how long did it take you to start building your strength back up, and where did that peak at over the last couple of years? How strong have you been able to get on with stage 4 kidney cancer?
It took me a little while. It is, as you know, we don't do things here. Nothing is done to where we have to conquer the world in a few days or even a few weeks. It took me a little while to start putting some strength back on. My squat depth got better.
Squat.
Wait, white light level?
No.
Okay, good. See, we can
Never.
we can be
Approximately Matt Reynolds level,
Okay.
which would be, well, anyway.
I thought if it fixed it, we needed to give Matt cancer.
Yes. Yes. Again, I cycled my training back and forth, and before I had my kidney removed in 2016, I pulled 500 for a triple.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
So
Amazing.
the week before you got diagnosed, you pulled what did you say? 495?
490 for 5.
For
Right.
5. So what was your triple at that point? You know?
Have no idea. That's all I did. But like I said, I did that 490 for 5 without a belt.
Right.
I have no idea. But
560. You know?
yeah, honestly,
545. Yeah.
500 for 3 was really not a max set. I had more in me.
Yeah.
And my body weight also had gotten up to about 283. So body weight.
I want to know what the doctors
what did he
think.
say?
I mean, this is so bizarre. It has to be so bizarre for your oncologist to go in and go, wait, you're gaining weight and you're getting stronger while
John's really smiling right
while
now.
you have stage 4 kidney cancer and you're on chemotherapy as we speak. Like that has to be unheard of for them.
Again, with all humility, every doctor I've seen, clear from the oncologist to the nephrologist to the urologist, they all have ologists hooked at the end of their lamp. Anyway, they've been nothing short of amazed because typically people that have what I have, first of all, don't live this long, and they do not gain weight and or get bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
And so do they attribute it to the weight training? I mean, will they go far enough?
Yes.
Yeah, have they bought into this?
My first oncologist, no. He told me I needed to do light weights and just maintain. And I just shook my head and left and basically couldn't wait till I got back into the gym so I could start training again and doing what we do.
Right.
So, yeah.
And some of the other guys, though, started to buy into this. They understand what you're doing now at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I assume supportive because you're kind of a medical miracle at this point. I had a guy that I talked to on the phone the other day who was 27, whose doctor told him he had disc degeneration in his back.
Right.
And so I thought, man, I probably can't train.
He fell out of his treehouse when he
that's-
was 12.
yeah,
and now he
right.
can't train.
Yeah. That's why we're doing this episode, right? Because this, it almost has become trite in the world of memes and the internet of your excuses invalid sort of stuff. But I mean, here's a guy with stage 4 kidney cancer for 2 years on chemo the entire time, has had 2 massive surgeries, right? 2 major surgeries in that time period?
3.
3 major surgeries in that time period.
Because he just had a discectomy.
Right, because you're right. Because you're
I just had a discectomy August the 31st.
Yeah, of this year. And,
Right.
And just got back into training from that. I saw you've been in a sling and back to training now. So are you still sore?
Very, very sore.
It'll come back. Just like it did the last time.
I mean, I've been training since 2011 with a double knee replacement. And so I don't...
Like, that's the thing he forgets to mention.
Right.
The double knee replacement.
Yeah, I had a double knee replacement in 2011. And so I've been training with that. And
So you say double knee replacement. Did they replace them both on one day, or did
Yes.
they did?
They
Oh,
did.
yes, in fact, they did.
Did you have it done here or down in Dallas?
I had it done here.
wow.
Had it
Not
done,
as
yeah.
sketchy. See, I need to have my hips done, but no, I'm yet to find someone who'll do both hips on the same day, which is actually what I want.
I don't know if that's a great
Okay,
idea.
I don't know.
This was like an insurance deal. My deductible was going to go up, and I said, listen, okay, if we can do this, if you'll do it, just do it and get the misery and pain over with now.
Yeah.
And he did, and needless to say, I was pretty much completely helpless
Sure.
for quite some time.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Sure.
you know,
I will enjoy you being helpless for a little while.
Yeah.
yes,
I will too.
yes.
I'll get a little bell.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's so, and that here we are today. So,
Yeah.
you know, no excuses. I can either make excuses or make gains. You can't do both. So,
So I'm going to ask a hard question, but it's something that I'm sure you've thought a lot about. Like, what does the future look like for you? You know, what is your outlook on life tomorrow? And I know you can't look at even 5 years in the future, but what does that look like?
I don't know, or do you?
Yeah.
no, I live one day at a time.
Yeah.
Since I got diagnosed with cancer in 2015, my spiritual life has never been the same.
Sure.
My relationship with God is
It's good.
been better than ever. I don't know why I'm in the place that I'm in today, but he's used this journey in the last 2 years mightily for his glory. I've been able to encourage and bless people who maybe don't even have cancer in the midst of my situation. And like I said, I've never been closer to God ever in my life than in the last 2 years. So I don't, again, it makes me appreciate being able to wake up each and every day, have air in my lungs, back to appreciating the small things.
Sure.
Okay, not taking them for granted.
It's an amazing story. It's a story that I think
Well, it's helping people right now.
you change people's lives, man. I mean, that's the amazing piece of this, is that in spite of the fact that you've been given this thing that is brutal and horrible, you've been able to turn it into something good. It's that passage in Scripture that, like, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good.
That's right.
And there is that in your story. There's
That's
no
right.
doubt. And so,
Absolutely.
how do you feel about your quality of life over the last couple of years? And obviously, it's not the same as being healthy, but I know one of the things that we always talk about with the strength training is that it allows people to maximize their quality of life for as long as possible. I know for me, I've watched my grandparents, some of my grandparents, slowly die over the course of 7-10 years. Right? I want to live life to its fullest and then die. Right.
Right.
And
Right.
And so what's that look like for you? What's your quality of life look like over the last couple of years with the strength training?
It's actually gone up, though there's certain things that I'm not able to do because some of my mobility is still limited, and I'm honestly still busting up scar tissue from when I had my very first surgery 2 years ago. My quality of life today is great, just for lack of a better word. I am still able to come in here and train, and since this system is based on small gains over a long period of time, again, it's ideal. If I don't have it that day, or I'm having a bad chemo day, then I can either stay the same or go up maybe 1 or 2 pounds that day. But the thought of ever not training or shrinking back in fear has never once crossed my mind.
It's good.
So never. That's not That's not acceptable. It's not a good example for my son. And again, it's not a good example for anyone who's going through any type of life-threatening illness. It lets them know that no matter what you're told by your doctor, that you have every reason to live and stand up and fight and do the best you can do. And when you can't do very well that day, then you try again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good.
So
it's an amazing story, man.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been incredible having you on this week.
Gosh, I love John Wilson's story. And for those of you that listened to that several years ago and remember that story, so I wanted to give you an update for 2020. Talked to John yesterday, and he's still fighting. Still has stage 4 terminal cancer. Cancer came back in both his lungs. He is on double the chemo than from what he was previously on, but he's training. He's doing rack pulls, and he's about to start into squats again. His body weight's only down 8 or 10 pounds, so he's trained all through it. He actually had major back surgery not that long ago, just a couple months ago. And so, if you're the praying type, send some up for John Wilson. I'm sure he would love to hear words of encouragement from you at Coat of Many Colors at att.net. Coat of Many Colors at att.net. And John's still training, still living, still kicking, not losing much weight. And that is the attitude that he's had the entire time, is he's going to keep fighting and stay around just as long as he can. So good luck to John. Our prayers and thoughts are with you, sir.